Welcome to FitBody Lifestyle, the show where we dive deep into the world of fitness, health, business, relationships, and the art of living a balanced life. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Greg, and we're here to give you the benefit of our experiences in the fitness and bodybuilding industry, the corporate world, running a business, personal development, and building healthy relationships.
Whether you're sweating it out in the gym, hustling in your business, or seeking balance in your everyday life, you're in the right place.
So lace up those sneakers and grab that water bottle, and let's get ready to transform our minds, our bodies, and our lives.
Welcome back to a special episode of FitBody Lifestyle. I've been talking about this for so long, and I'm so excited to finally do our first episode in the Love and Marriage series that we're going to do. And really, the whole purpose of this is just to give you some insight with some couples that, we see are super strong, supportive, and, flourishing, and they're good examples for us, people we like to surround ourselves with so that we can continue to grow our relationship. So I'm here, of course, with my love and marriage partner here, Papa Bear, and of course our first ever couple that we're going to be talking to, Drew and Jordan Brannon. Welcome, you guys.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello, we are back.
If you haven't seen them before, which I'm sure if you've watched any of the podcasts, you probably have seen them before. You may know a little bit about them, but I'll let you guys go ahead and give a little introduction. Who are you?
Are we doing our chicken word?
Okay, first we're going to do our chicken word.
Thanks, Drew. I didn't want to say it. She was on a roll.
Hold on. Before we get to the check-in word, I did want to say, if you're not watching this episode on YouTube or Spotify, and if you're listening, that's awesome. You'll get the gist. But we will have some fun pictures of the evolution of this couple, and I don't think you're going to want to miss these because they're super adorable. So just so you know, we will have pictures that'll be part of this this podcast. So anyway,
and shout out to our producers who put together this backdrop, which you'll see if you watch the YouTube,
yes,
with a little dumbbell, which signifies me, and because I'm the dumbbell. But some candles, a little romantic environment. You're the romance part, baby.
You're the wine.
The Brannons are the wine glasses. So
Yes, that is definitely a Brannon thing.
So check-in word. Who would like to go first?
My check-in word is loved. Oh, was that
You
yours?
can have the same check-in word, Drew.
I would say loving is my chicken word.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say.
These are the little differences that are really part of the Love and Marriage series that we want to get into, because there are little differences, and there's a concept of diversity, and the diverse thoughts produce the greatest results, and in a couple that's no different, really. Jamie and I will tell you that we think differently. Our approach is different, and I think Drew and Jordan are very similar to that. And we always talk that Drew and Jamie are like connected, and Jay and I are connected and more alike than different, and it's just interesting.
We complement each other.
We complement
Sure
each
do.
other. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I there's one other thing I want to say just before we start these series, and I'll say it again with other people. We're going to have a broad variety of people that will be on here in terms of couples. Jamie and I have said, and this is our last marriage, but we have 2 other marriages before we each, so 4 marriages if you want to count those total. The thing is, you're listening to this. What did I say?
That's just confusing.
It is?
We're each other's third spouses.
Yes. No, we're not each other's third. We're each other's last. Yes. and we had 2 marriages each before this. So
And we've been together how long? Married how long?
Well, 18 years, 19 years,
Yeah.
18 years.
18 years
yeah.
together. 19
in our 19th year.
Yeah.
And the thing that I want to make sure with everybody is, our sport is a comparison sport, and we have talked about this on the podcast. We talk about this with our athletes all the time, is that comparing yourself to somebody else is not a successful endeavor. It's something that you really want to stay away from. You want to just focus on your journey and be informed by other people's journeys in terms of what you can, incorporate, or what works for you. But at the end, it's really not about finding somebody else's way. It's about finding your way. Marriage and relationship is no different. And we can tell you from our other marriages, there will be a tendency to look at what we're going to, or listen to what we're going to talk about and say, oh my God, I want to do that. Great. Okay. If there's something that you want to incorporate, awesome. And this isn't a comparison thing. This isn't about our relationship is stronger than your relationship or whatever. This isn't a series of Love Island or, Bachelor or whatever. My connection is stronger than their connection. Be mindful of that as you're watching this. We admire the Brannon's relationships in so many ways. We look at what they do, and you're going to hear a lot about that. And we think about are there ways that we can incorporate that? But not everything that they do would work for us, and it won't work for you. So as you're thinking about and listening to what we're going to be describing, just keep that in mind with that little caveat that this isn't about shaming other relationships. It's not about comparing other relationships. It's simply about, hey, this is what works for these two and has worked for these two. And what I can assure you is that relationships evolve over time. So what worked for us at the start of our relationship is going to be something different than what works for us, midterm relationship or towards this time in our relationship. So think about really what you like and what you need. And the most important thing I can tell you is everything revolves around two words: trust and communication. If you have those two things, love is easy. Love is the easiest component, but trust and communication are the two most important attributes of any marriage, of any relationship, and that includes marital relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, and friend relationships as well. So okay.
Just to add one more thing, and then we're going to get rolling, but I just wanted to say, whether you're in a relationship or you're currently single, I wanted this for both of those people. So if you're thinking about what do you want your eventual relationship to look like, this is a great place to get some thoughts and ideas and help you figure that out. Or if you're already in a relationship and you're just looking for ideas, like Greg says, everybody's a little different in what works for them. But that's really the purpose. So even if you're not in a relationship, hopefully this is going to be really helpful.
So where do you want to start? You want to start at the beginning?
In the beginning.
In the beginning. Okay.
I was going to start singing and I had to control myself.
So why don't you start and tell us a little bit about Jamie and
start at the very beginning.
The karaoke thing is a real thing, and it has now spread.
That's why it's
like a virus.
I think it was already spread before it, but
it's true.
Anyway,
it has reinvigorated your
love for singing,
for karaoke, because you were on a roll, and then it kind of got busy with work a little bit. And then when you got the car, it's reminded you that now you can be in a car and do karaoke.
Yes. I can. Okay. Yes, I can sing anywhere, anytime.
Support her.
Yes.
So can we start with where they met?
Well, what I would like to start at is where you were before you met.
Okay.
So just kind of what was going on in that maybe year before you guys met, and then we kick off into how you met.
So before I met Drew, I was in a different relationship, and it was pretty much near the end. And I had a phone call with my father a couple months before I met you. And I was, basically telling him where I was at in the relationship, and I thought that it was done. And my dad encouraged me to stay. And he was like, I think you really need to stay. I think you really need to make sure that it is done. This is a solid person and things like that. And, I just want you to make sure that when you walk away, you did everything. I was like, well, I'm really not comfortable with that, but I understand your perspective. And
how old were you?
I was 21.
How long had you been in that relationship?
Almost 4 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And we were living together and things. It was going to be complicated. It was definitely going to be complicated. And then when I went to college at University of South Florida, that's when I started there, and that's where Drew and I met. I started to just get a new life. I was just really starting to see, what a different perspective could be, getting out of my hometown and things like that. And pretty much at that point, I knew that it was done. And so I ended that relationship right as soon as we started our program, the exercise physiology program at USF. And that's when, Drew and I met, and things took course from there. Where were you at?
Similar.
Yeah.
I think that's the interesting thing. And when we get into the how we met and how things happened, we are both in very similar situations. I was with the girlfriend at the time for almost 7 years.
Wow.
So all through high school into college. And yeah, we were living together, and it was very messy, and I felt very stuck, and I didn't want to just, leave this person, high and dry mid-lease. There was a lot of that chatter kind of that Jay and I were kind of talking about, taking a leap, getting out of that relationship, how difficult that can be. But then that's not your relationship type situation. And it's hard because a lot of, I stayed for a long time. I mean, We both probably stayed longer than we thought we should, but it's difficult. Those situations are very messy, and I remember calling my mom, and I was just like, listen, if I don't just like not go back to that apartment, like I keep going back and I'm gonna stay. And my mom at the time did not want me to move forward with my relationship with my ex at the time until I at least dated somebody else. My mom was very firm on that. My dad, on the other hand, my dad absolutely loved my ex, top to bottom, like everything about her. My dad and my ex were a lot closer than my mom and my ex were, which made it hard too, because I had this yin and yang at home where my dad loved my ex. My mom was like pushing me like, hey, there's other people out there type situation. So
I think that's what we bonded on the most, because Drew and I were friends first, really good friends. And we would have private conversations about this, like where we were in life and, how to navigate it, what we were going to do. And then things slowly started to kindle into something else.
So when you guys met then, were you still entangled in these other relationships?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, very. Okay. Yeah. So like we met officially for the first time at.
Did your exes ever meet?
No,
but we've met each other's exes.
Correct.
Okay.
We originally met / didn't meet at an orientation at USF. We did the same orientation like session,
which is crazy because there's so many sessions, and we were the same day, the same time. Like it's very serendipitous that it happened that way.
Yeah, and then we started. Her ex owned a shop that like worked on like motorcycles and like dirt bikes and stuff like that. And then obviously my background in racing. So we kind of like had loosely talked about the two worlds that were kind of similar, kind of different. And then the cohort we were in at USF, there was 30 kids. So like everybody applied, they took 30 kids, and then you went through a 2-year program together. So it was like being back in high school almost. We went like
class to class.
Not even high school, because like you mix up.
Close with these 30 people.
We got really close, and one of our best friends in our program, Megan, she was one that just told me, she's like, you guys are gonna end up together. I don't know how or when, but it's gonna happen.
That's interesting.
Hold on, we were like,
yeah.
Okay.
So we really spent the first semester just establishing a friendship, and then our friends. Right.
Yeah. And then we got to a point where we both kind of gave each other the confidence to leave our relationships. I think we left our relationships within a couple of weeks of each other. I left first. And then you did shortly after too.
Well, because remember with Dom, so like our best friend at the time, Dom, he was in a relationship he wanted out of too, but like we were all in leases. So it was like really complicated, right?
Yeah.
So we all like just sat down and like, okay, well, like, can we all three, we went to like not the nicest neighborhoods to kind of like make this work. I'm not gonna lie. And like the three of us lived in a 2-bedroom. And like the rent was like $1,100 a month for the three of us.
Included.
Yeah, like it was so cheap, but it was not in a great part of town, to be honest.
So this is so you could continue to pay your portion.
Yeah,
of
just
the
get
other
things
leases.
ironed out, right? Like try to just get out and like get settled in. So the three of us did that. Obviously, that made the three of us very close, living together. And that would have been like January, right?
Yep.
Right.
So the question here is that when you all three you
I was
Jay and
wondering
Drew
this.
moved into it with each other, were there kindlings of the romantic relationship at that point?
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
She came over, like my ex would like nanny and like babysit for a couple really well-known families in the Tampa Bay area, and like it's awkward now, but not really. So Jay had come over to study.
To study.
One weekend, yeah, when my ex was gone. But then like we hung out all night, studied, right, made A's on that assignment. And
Days on what? The exam
assignment.
or the studying?
yeah,
All
both.
the assignments
Okay, all right.
of the evening.
Okay.
But that was like mid-semester.
Yeah.
And like we just couldn't quite pull the trigger for me to like leave my situation, her leave her situation. So we kept like doing things. Like there's a photo for my 21st birthday where it's like all my friends from USF and then my friends with my ex who, we had been living in Tampa for a few years together at that point, and like that friend group. And like I'm sitting next to Jordan and my ex is sitting on the other side of the table with like our other friends.
Interesting.
It's crazy to go back and see that. But like we were like talking, but not like,
Yeah.
We just were like, it was just like magnets.
Yeah.
So we were just always drawn to each other. We were always talking. We always had really like in-depth conversations, whether it was about schoolwork or, personal life. And he comes from a completely different background than me. And I was very drawn to that. And just every conversation, it was just like if we were in a room together, we just naturally gravitated toward each other. It was always that way.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So it was like January. It was just after we came back from winter break, right? That we moved into University Lakes.
And my car got broken into.
That's right. Car got broken into. Like iPad got stolen. I remember that. And then we were like dating, like we were together at that point. Like by the time we moved in together, we were exclusive.
Yep. But I think a really important thing to note is
What?
a couple months in.
Yeah.
Wait, and just to clarify, by the time you moved in together with Dom?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you guys were exclusive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you sharing a bedroom, or was there
Jordan and I, or me and Dom?
Yes.
That's what I was wondering.
I'm sure there's times all of the above, but for the most part, Jay and I were in a room.
Okay.
So you were going to say a couple months in.
Yes.
Yeah. This is important, honestly. So if we were started in January, right?
Yep.
Was that the first? So St. Patrick's Day is in March, no?
Yes.
And then
March
Mother's
17th
Day
every
is in
year.
May.
Yes.
So did you go to St. Patty's Day and then I broke up with you after that?
This was before.
That doesn't make sense then, because I was home for Mother's Day when I surprised my mom.
Oh, okay.
So what must have happened was we went, so Jay, Dom, Peter, another friend in the program, Peter's girlfriend, now wife. We all went to my parents' house for St. Patty's Day. My parents threw a big party. And that was the first time I brought Jordan home. And you've had Jay's lasagna before. Like
It's amazing.
I convinced Jordan to like do a big tray of lasagna for the whole family, whatever. And my dad was can I cuss on this or no?
Yes.
He was such an asshole. Like to Jay that first time. Because he, like I said, he really
Still
liked
likes
my
yeah.
ex, right? And here I come. Like I love my parents, but like no C's, D's, or F's. Can't get a girl pregnant, no tattoos, and if at any given time he calls and like you need to go do a drug test, you have to go. And my parents always said, you live by these, you're gonna have a great life, you're gonna have a great head start on life, right? So here I am, I bring Jordan to my parents' house, covered in tattoos, but like my parents' eyes, like she's got tattoos.
Any tattoo was covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, and
Belly button ring.
different like divorced parents,
broken home,
like that. And my dad was just like not okay with this at first.
And you felt it.
Oh, everybody felt it.
Well,
like my friends.
When Drew uses the word asshole, I kind of have to believe that you would have to not be there to not feel it.
Yeah, it was
tough.
lack of communication and silent treatment, but you felt the tension. I was just like, just yell at me, like just communicate with me, like say something.
Yeah.
So that was hard.
It was very hard. It was extremely difficult.
It was
And I knew
awkward
at that point, this was going to be a turning point. Like we were either, because I loved his parents from the get-go. Like, it's a beautiful home, a beautiful family. And I was like, his parents mean so much to him. Like if they're not going to accept me, this is not going to move forward, nor would I want it to, because I'm not going to come in and break up this beautiful family.
I would say that is something that you learn through experience, is that, and I know everybody, you're not marrying the family, but you are.
Yeah.
So people, if you don't think that you're marrying the family, you are. And I will just absolutely tell you that you don't have to always get into, hey, favorite person and all that stuff, but you do have to find some kind of harmony, I think, and steady state where you can exist and coexist, because the family's part of it. And I would add one other thing, which is never, ever, ever complain to your family about your current relationship unless you want to break up with them. Because
then be careful, because if you get back with them,
Right.
That's what he
and
said.
you just
You better be sure.
painted this nasty photo for the family.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a no bueno. Don't do it. You think it's a safe space, but it's not.
Well, but human nature.
Because
Can't forget.
your parents just want to protect
Or
you.
forget.
And, yeah,
Absolutely.
their motives are pure.
Right.
And I think in a relationship, it's also important that you have a space or a friend to be able to vent to when things are not that, going the way you want it to, or you just need help or whatever. That's important to have just not your family.
Yeah.
And I would also tell you, be careful about it being your best friend too, because sometimes your best friends
Well, their family.
Yeah, they
Therapist
will.
might be good in this case.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It will
We'll
shake.
get to that.
Yeah.
No.
It will.
We will get to therapy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, so we
So
went.
how did this? So when then what ended up happening? So there was the tension.
We got through the weekend, got home, and I'm, so we get to then May, and I don't know. I kind of had a little freak out myself, honestly. Like things were moving fast, we're living together, and this might come off weird, but the person
You're 22, 21. Okay.
21 at this point.
Super young.
You're
Yeah.
babies.
And we're going through that phase in life. And I say this to all my young athletes, like your early 20s are the toughest, right? You're trying, who am I as a person?
Yes.
Not who am I because of my family? Like, what are my religious, political, what are my views?
Right.
What do I value? What am I looking for from my person? I don't know. You're learning so much. And I woke up one morning and I just told Jay, like, she had to leave.
Your frontal lobe's not even fully developed at 21. Like
For sure.
there's a lot going on in the early 20s. Yeah.
I just kind of panicked. I told Jordan that she needed to leave, and I needed some time to kind of think about some things. And I took a little break. And it was like the week of Mother's Day, because Mother's Day was that Sunday.
And mind you, where this, I think some of this started in your anxiety was, so both of my parents are addicts.
Right.
And Drew had a experience with my father going through a very traumatic episode where he was calling Drew and threatening him, and threatening to come knock the door down and do some things. And then I think that really showed you a side. And, we talk about you're marrying into the family, like obviously he doesn't have to have a relationship with my father, but he's going to be a part of my life, this is my life. And this is what I deal with on a daily basis. So we wake up one morning, he's like, you need to get your stuff and leave. I don't know where you need to go, but you can't be here. And I literally
Went to a friend's.
I went to a friend's. I had nowhere to go. So we were both navigating that at that time.
Yeah, and I think too, like my dad's reaction too. So it's like I have my dad's reaction when I bring her home for the first time, and then like her dad. It was just I needed a minute to just like really think through, because like my life had taken a complete 180. Went from living in South Tampa, beautiful apartment, great, very predictable life,
To my tornado.
to like the hood, and I'm living now in like the North Tampa.
My car's getting broken
It's just like a complete shift in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
But I tell Jordan to this day, that was I did talk to my ex during that time, and I told Jordan that, but it's what I needed. I needed the closure. I needed to go back, talk, and just make sure what I was getting ready to invest in was going to be what I really wanted to invest in. And that was not what I wanted with my ex. So I know it was both
But
painful.
you needed to answer those questions for yourself.
I did. It was very selfish to my ex and to Jordan at the time, right?
Well, but Drew, it's accurate that you say that it was selfish, and you have to be to a point in that, and I mean, again, bodybuilding's not life, but the lessons from bodybuilding do transfer, and it's like, Jay, your process going into a show is it's selfish in the sense that you protect your space.
Yes.
And because that's what you need.
Yeah.
And you were doing what you needed, Drew. So Jordan, the question to you is, no place to go. I mean, that would be the death knell for a lot of relationships. Clearly it was not. So how did you process that? How were you processing it? Did you understand the context of it? I mean,
she put on a cute outfit and posted on Instagram that she was going down to South Tampa, and she said, "Come play with me," was her caption. And I was like, oh.
Okay, so yes, I did that. But that was after multiple days couch rotting on my friend's couch.
You DM that to Drew, or you
No,
said that
I
to
just
the
posted
post?
it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was literally couch rotting on my friend's couch. My phone was completely silent. It's like those are the moments for me where it's like I really realize what I had, which was nothing. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have anybody to call. I had my friends from the program, and I was really starting to like, Jesus, I just left my ex of 4 years. Maybe my dad was right. Like, my friend that I'm sleeping on her couch after multiple days, she's like, I need you to get up and shower and you're going to go, she's the one who encouraged me, Megan. She was like, you're going to go put on an outfit and we're going to come up with a caption and you're going to go out tonight. And I was like, okay. And lo and behold, that's what drew his attention back. And then the next day I got a phone call.
Good thing for Megan, right?
Right. Thank you, Megan.
Get your
Love
butt
you.
up, get
Love
showered,
you, Megan.
get cute.
Yes.
Did you reach out to your ex during that time?
I did not. I knew.
Okay.
And I think that is something that I will say about, the advice from my dad is I did wait till I knew for sure. I was never going back.
And did you at that point believe that Drew was your person?
I was very fond of him.
Okay.
I wasn't in love with him yet.
Okay.
I think that would be a stretch, but I was extremely fond of him and, wanted to create a life and, explore it. And I was devastated. I mean, I got home I was blindsided. I got home from work and he was like, get out. And I was like, oh, okay. Like,
I do think, I want to talk about this because I do think it's very vulnerable what I'm going to say, first of all, and you're going to pick up in a second. But I do think on this podcast, on this platform, this is something that needs to be addressed. Is full transparency. When we moved in together in January, that was the first time I started TRT. Okay, so, and I know we deal with this as coaches too, and like spouses that compete together, or there was definitely a hormonal shift going on for me, right? It was my first exposure. My test was through the roof for the first time, puffy chested, like that feeling that I still remember, like the first cycle I ever did. And I was invincible. It was me versus the world. I could take on anything, anybody. It didn't matter. And that definitely played a role in my ability to really think things through, because like things are shifted, they're altered. And if we look at the timeline, if I started in January and really like we get to like that May-ish time, like that's like peak concentration. And like for me, and it's part of that irrational decision making and things like that. It was definitely influenced and heightened with that.
And you were very much struggling at that point with your anxiety
My
disorder.
anxiety was my panic attacks.
I'm sure that was not helping with.
No, not at all. And it's
Right.
like this perfect storm. That's why literally when I woke up that day and she came home, I told her she didn't leave. Like I was just so, I remember sitting on this, we had the end unit, and I remember sitting on the second floor, and I remember sitting outside on the stairs, just like looking down, like asking myself who I am these days, like, cause it was such a big shift. And that's why I needed to, I got through the rest of that week. I went to the racetrack. TJ won that race. We went down to Bradenton. A friend won a race on a Saturday, and we got done at like 2 a.m. at the track. And I like looked at GPS. It was like, I could surprise my mom if I leave Bradenton for Mother's Day. And I literally just left the track, drove through the night, and like 7 a.m. woke my mom up on Mother's Day morning. And I needed that, to ground myself and just really think things through. And then I remember on the way home, another friend of ours from the program, he drove back with me to Tampa. It's about a 4-hour drive. And I got all the clarity I needed on that drive home, to then come back and sit down with Jordan and have a conversation. But there's just a lot of things that I think happened that I'm so grateful for now where we're at, but they were very painful in that time and very confusing.
Most growth opportunities are exactly the way you described it. Is they're painful in the moment, and then over time they produce the growth. But I want to go back to this at the point where you made the decision. Did you talk to anybody, or was it just Drew and Drew's head going through the calculus and the and everything else?
No, I did not talk to anybody. I had a lot of deep conversations with myself at this point because I was not faithful to my ex at all. So I think that was part of where I wasn't sure where I was going to be. But I remember telling myself, because even I was talking to Jordan when I was with my ex, like sleeping with my cell phone in my hand at night, because like I didn't want my ex to like grab my phone and go through it, because it would not have been a good situation. And I said, I was so tired. Right? Like we'll talk about how tired we were Olympia week. Like I was tired like that every single day because I wasn't sleeping, because I was looking over my shoulder. Like, what did I say? How did I cover my steps? And I told myself, I was so tired. The next person I meet, like when I get serious, I'm not screwing around. Like I want to leave my cell phone out, have full access to whatever you want. It's not going to be a thing, because it's very exhausting living that kind of double life. So I told myself, once you commit to somebody from here on out, like that's, you can't. So
That's good. That's good. I mean, I think about that sometimes when you see these documentaries and people have like two families and a double. I'm like, I don't even know how. Like, I can't even imagine, because I feel like one relationship is enough.
Yeah.
When relationship's challenging enough. So
Well, I also think it's very interesting that you didn't really talk to anybody, and that maybe you didn't have anybody that you could talk to at that time. I don't think you could have talked to your dad, because that would have just been confirmation bias, and who knows how the relationship would be now had you done that at that time. I think he probably
Dom was there for me. I mean, Dom, listen. Sorry. Just because I missed that, dude. Sorry.
You do not need to apologize.
No. I know. It's just life. We talk about relationships and how things change, but the three of us were very close. For Dom, and Dom was there for me a lot.
We grew up so much.
We did. The three of us together, navigating our early 20s, was we needed. We talk about the difference of want and need in a relationship or out of certain things, and like, the three of us definitely needed each other. And like, we're definitely put in that program together for a specific reason, looking back on it. And, but I had Dom, selfishly, and it kind of sucked because Jay had Dom too. But like, Dom was kind of stuck in the middle, and
mediator.
Yeah. And he did a very good job for both of us.
Very well,
He would tell me when I needed to, check myself, and hey, like, we're like 12 weeks into this cycle here, buddy. Like, you're not bigger than me. Like, Dom's walking like 200 pounds. I'm 145 pounds, thinking I'm bigger than, like, it was, I needed that.
Wait till you guys see the photos.
Cue photo.
But I had Dom, but that was about it, and Dom's upbringing was more, Dom and Jay connected more on some of their childhood stuff over mine, which was good for the two of them, as well, to help navigate each other. But yeah, I remember getting back from that Mother's Day trip, and I was like, okay, like, this is it. Like, we're just going to full steam ahead.
Sorry.
I feel like too, that's like very much like our relationship. Like, we make a decision and we go all in on it. And then sometimes we realize it's not the right decision and then we pivot. But I feel like that's always been you and me from the beginning, is that we communicate and we make that choice and we stick with it. And, we're accepting of the consequences, good or bad. And whatever it is at that moment, we'll figure it out.
Interested in changing your life or stepping on stage? Join FitBody Fusion today.
Experience the FitBody Fusion difference with tools, knowledge, and community support to reach your healthy and sustainable lifestyle.
We guide thousands on their fitness journeys, from seasoned athletes to those who are simply seeking a healthier life.
Our expert coaches provide personalized plans and unwavering support, empowering you to thrive.
FitBody Fusion is more than just training. It's a community. We understand the challenges of solo fitness journeys, which is why we foster a supportive environment where members encourage and motivate each other.
Join the FitBody Fusion community today and unlock your full potential.
Head to fitbodyfusion.com to sign up for a free consultation.
And do it today.
So what did the conversation look like when you guys got back?
I don't.
I remember.
For me, I felt like I just needed the clarity. I just told you that, that I apologized for putting her through that, but I knew that wasn't for me anymore.
Was it hard for you to forgive?
It wasn't, but my concern was at that point with everything that was going on with my father, and I knew that he went home. So my biggest thing was the impasse of our parents. Like, if we're going to do this, you've only seen a blip into my life. That is just the surface. And it was hard, and it was a moment for sure. It was one of the worst moments that I can recall that I've experienced with my childhood. And now he's, a part of one of those moments. But, I was very communicative. Like, this is just the surface, and this is only the beginning. So like, if you're with me, that's not who I am, but they are a part of me. So we had that honest conversation. Then I was concerned about his parents too, because I had just come off of that experience with them. And you know, he said, I can only, you know, do my best to navigate my parents of sharing with them who you are and, you know, the woman that you are. And I promise I will do my best. And I think my dad just needs time. He's always been that way. And I was like, well, for my parents, you wake up and you get what you get. So, you know, it's just about, you know, you learning how to put on that armor. And we both decided we were going to move forward and we were going to try. And I think too, that's where Dom bridged the gap because he had experience with his parents too. And he was like, she has no control over them and she can be someone different that's not her parents, you know, and vouched for me. And then since then we navigated it, you know, really, really well. You know, at this point in time, like I want to say like my in-laws are amazing. They love me. They talk to me, you know, everything's great. Like I'm so blessed that way. But it took time. And I think that was more of the hiccup at that moment is, you know, I knew again, like him, his brothers, his family, like you walk into that home and it is the essence of love. And, you know, I never wanted to be someone that came in and put a wedge, you know, through that. It wasn't worth it to me. I know what I was looking for out of the family. I wanted to be a part of the family, but I was never going to wedge myself in there and breaking up what, you know, they already had, you know. So
I appreciate that a lot though from you. Cause I think I see that in relationships where one or the other person, like if things don't mesh with the family, then they purposefully kind of wedge, like they're like, okay, well then we're not gonna, it's me or them.
Yeah.
And that never turns out well for anybody.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, like I told myself, like, clearly his parents love him that much, that if they love him that much, they have to trust his judgment at the end of the day. Like they're going to, if they love him enough. And if he decides that I'm the person, then they'll learn to accept it. And eventually they did.
Well, that effectively becomes an ultimatum in the sense that you're asking your spouse to choose you over their family.
Correct.
And that's just not a good combination, a good recipe, any more than it is asking people. But, you know, ultimatums in other contexts, hey, I want you to choose me over substance abuse. That's a different story, right?
Right.
But asking,
even in that situation, like
it
I
becomes
don't.
difficult.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You're
people
forcing
have to make
a
that decision for themselves.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, they can't make it. So when you got the FOMO Instagram and saw that she wanted to play, and then you reached out to her. You didn't want her playing
with anyone else.
At that point, did you know that she was the one, or did you just want to where were you on the relationship spectrum with that?
I mean, I was ready to move forward. I mean, like I said, I just needed to know what was behind me was behind me. You know, and I think part of my history, like I said, that's what made it tough is because like my ex was kind of used to it. Every like 6 months, I would do something I shouldn't do, and then she would take me back, and then we'd start this vicious cycle. And, you know, I think deep down inside, she probably thought this was just another run at it.
Right.
And for me, I had to decide if I was going to keep being that person or if I was ready to grow up and, you know, settle down, you know. And but yeah, I mean, we committed to each other then, and like
I think when we really knew was when we started noticing like how much we matched each other in terms of drive. Yeah. You know, we both came from completely different backgrounds, but one thing about Drew and I is that we work hard. You know, whether we were studying, whether we were in an internship program, grades, we were always competing. We were in the powerlifting team together. We were always competing and trying to go better and better and better. And I was like, I know the race that I run because I've been forced to run this race since I was a little girl. Like I always had to work, you know, early on in life and take care of myself. And, you know, I knew my partner had to match that pace for me. And I was never going to be the one to like get married and do nothing. So like I wanted my partner to be somebody that pushed me and could run that race. And Drew was always right there. And this is also the first relationship I've ever been in where I've been with a man that can be a little bit smarter than me, can do a little bit more than me. There was always like this power dynamic in my relationships where I was always the one that was a little bit on top, and I didn't love that for me because I didn't feel pushed to grow. So I knew at that point, I was like, okay, this can definitely be a spouse for me. And then, I mean, literally the day we graduated, we opened up our gym together. And I think that really kind of shows like we were having so many different conversations. You know, basically his parents set him up super well. I was saved all of my money. And, you know, at one point, we were getting ready to graduate and we were like, we're going to open up a gym. Like, we're going to open up a gym right now. Like, we don't want to work for anybody. Like, you know, we're going to do this. And that's really like, okay, well, we should probably talk about like long-term commitment and things like that. So
because we bought the house before we even engaged, right?
Yes.
I think it's very interesting what you just talked about why you felt it was a good match. And I always think it's interesting in the approach people take to finding their partner and like how they prioritize the things that they need in their lives. You know, I think it is really important that, because there are, you know, every dynamic's different. You know, somebody might, you know, prefer like they want to have kids, they want to be stay-at-home mom, they want to have kind of that kind of traditional. In your case, you knew you wanted, because I think you and I relate a lot on this, like you wanted somebody who is going to push you. And it's not even like that Drew has to push you. It's really like because he's so focused on continuing to work hard and achieve and things like that, that inspires you. And because it's very much that way for us. And it's just so interesting that
I do.
Get out of here. So it was interesting to me that you knew that, especially as young as you were, like you were able to identify that was something you needed in the relationship and that was a match for you guys.
Yeah. And another thing too was kids. I knew from very early on, I was not having kids. I was not on the table for me. And I was very communicative of that up front. And he was on the fence. He was like, I could, but I couldn't. And then he's like, I just need some time to like mull that over, which I respected. And then eventually it was a few months later, he was like, I don't want children. I'm definitely, it's off the table for me. And I was like, okay, well,
that's important too.
Absolutely.
And being honest. Like I love that you were honest, because I think a lot of couples aren't.
Yeah.
You know, some people secretly are harboring the idea that maybe the other person's going to come around and things like that. And I see that drive big wedges in people's relationships, not just about kids, but about many different things, whether those kind of big things, religion, politics, children, like those things that like if you have deep feelings about it, if you know that other person doesn't, and that's a no-go for you, but then you overlook it thinking they're going to get them over to your side, like even having pets.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And I think I think I did my best to try to communicate in the beginning of the things that I thought would be issues or needed to be big concepts. And then when we actually got married is when, you know, our cracks and flaws really started to show. And, you know, Drew and I are very open about this. Like our first year of marriage, we almost got a divorce. It was an awful time for us. We definitely should have done marriage counseling before getting married, but it did force us into getting counseling right away. And, I mean, that marriage counselor saved our life.
Are you able to, if you're willing to talk about like what were the pain points or the disputes?
Yeah, I mean, definitely intimacy, and it was all on my side. You know, growing up, I never
say that it's all on your side.
What'd you say?
You can't say it's all on your side.
Okay.
It's a relationship.
Yeah.
You have to feel safe. You have like you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like it really started to show, like, you know, living with someone full time, and like I'd always been by myself, very independent, doing things my way, and I guess the juvenile side of me was like, I'm just going to have this partner and they're just going to adapt to my life and I get to do my thing and they're just going to be good with that and they'll fit themselves in where, you know, they can. And it was not that way. He was like, I love that you're independent, but like, where do I fit in here? You know, like how are you going to show me that I mean something to you? And I was like, but I love you. He's like, but how do you show me that? And I've never had examples of that. You know, my parents got divorced when I was 5 years old. And when they were together, it was, you know, terrible. My aunt is basically who raised me and she's a lesbian, you know, so I didn't have, you know, a depiction of that. My grandfather also helped raise me, but he was single for most of, you know, that time. So I literally just had no example of what a relationship was. And he did. He had love and support and many, many friends in Miami that are all married and that he just saw very different variations of love and marriage. And I didn't.
For Jordan, the more serious it got, the more, and what did the therapist finally say? Like the more stability Jordan was shown, the more vulnerable that made her feel. Because it was just so foreign to her. Yep. So like the more stable our situation, the deeper we are into this relationship, then I'm over here like
chaos.
Like we're like she was
because that's my normal.
Right.
Well, it's also kind of a variation of the Truman Show, which we've talked about before, which is you only know the reality that you know. And then when you're introduced to something that you want, you need, you crave, you don't trust it because it's not been your norm. Right. So if it's not real, well, I'm not going to pursue that because it's not real. It's something that's a fiction. I need to go back to this chaos or whatever else is my comfort zone.
Yeah. And I mean, the bottom line is like, the people that loved me the most hurt me the most. And so I felt like whenever I got close to someone and they loved me, I immediately protected myself of the end. The end's going to come. So when is it going to come? And I'm going to protect myself now. So I did some inner work on myself in the beginning by myself. And then, you know, she said, it's time to bring in Drew. And we went through a 16-week long intimacy and relationship course. And I feel like everybody should go through this course. I mean, these homework assignments we had each week were deep. I mean, one of the homework assignments, TMI maybe, we had to both open up an anatomy book and show each other's anatomy and point out and talk about what we liked and what we didn't like. And that's vulnerable. It's a very vulnerable moment. But every single time that we did a homework assignment, one of us would be more uncomfortable than the other, and we both supported each other through that. But we both left like, that was awesome. That was really cool.
Is this something that your therapist put together, or is this?
She specializes. So we had gone through a handful of therapists, and then finally she specialized in this.
Yeah.
And like Jay said, the first few sessions she did it by herself, and then we did our first one together. And I think it's important to talk about the ride home, because we talked about it the night before the Olympia. So Friday night, I could not sleep. And
Before this Olympia?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like a pivotal moment in our marriage. This story he's about to tell.
And I brought it up again, a couple weeks ago, leading this Olympia, like one night out, because I was laying there and I was just thinking back of kind of what we're discussing here, and how great of a life Jay and I live and we have built together and run, like she said, stride for stride, that people are surrounded with, the two of you, like we get to do what we get to do. And we're very blessed to have such an amazing couple and friends to go do this with. Right. And I was just laying there and I was like, God, I really hope she's top 10, but don't get hung up on that. Right. We can't control that. We know this is her best. Look what this platform has done for us in our life and our relationship. And I tell Jordan all the time, I said, thank you for that car ride home. Or do you remember the bridge conversation? And one of the really weird parts about this experience with the therapist was it was about an hour drive from our apartment in Pinellas County over at near Clearwater Beach to her in like North Tampa.
We probably should have drove separate now.
Well, you're right. I know. So like you get out of this intense therapy session and it's like, it's quiet, right? Because like you're both still processing and we're just driving, and it's like not just like around the corner. So it's about the halfway point, the Howard Franklin Bridge. It's a really long bridge, goes over the bay. Remember, when you come from the airport to the St. Pete, that bridge, we literally get barely on the bridge, and Jay says, I don't think I can be what you need.
I don't think I can be what you need. I don't think I can be who you want me to be.
Right. And
I was just bawling.
Just bawling the rest of the ride home. And I told her that I knew she could, and that she just needed to continue to work on herself and push herself. And she just was very adamant for that ride home that she could not get to said whatever was in her head, right? And I remind her of that constantly, because she could have, we both could have just said no, like, you know what, this is too much, this is too tough, but we obviously didn't. We kept going through the course, and we always say in our relationship, do hard things. Like, this is one of those things that I'm so proud of her for not just saying, screw it and just go run and find another easy distraction, but truly focus on myself as me and herself as her, and how to be the best person we can be for ourselves, but then the best version we can be for each other. And that was that moment. And once again, we're already married. We've got the business. We own a house together. I'm like, oh man, like
on paper, things are great.
Well,
until you shut
the
door.
Not to mention the fact that you guys are so intertwined at that point.
Get out.
A separation would be a major undertaking.
Yeah, and we were 24 at this point, something like that, 25 years old. Like, we had been talking about divorce, not divorce, and and I just go back to that car ride home, and she made a choice, to keep working on herself, and we went through this 16-week, course together that was a lot to unpack, learned a lot, but that definitely saved our marriage for sure.
Yeah, and I think something you said to me in the car was, you can, and I'm going to give you the time and the patience, and I'm here. I'm here for you. It's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be a year from now. This is going to be a continuous journey. And, if you want to, I'm here for the ride. And that gave me that safety net. But listen, there was a lot of times where I tried and then I'd fail again. And I tried and I fail again. And then one thing.
What was the 1%? Remember the 1% rule? But I told I didn't care.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't care as long as I was getting 1% better every day. And that's where our 1% better every day comes from. Now a different meaning in life now, but he was like, I don't care as long as you continue to get 1% better every day. And I've had plenty of downfalls from that moment. You know, it's taken me a really long time to get here. But, you know, I think with, you know, what Greg just, you know, said in the beginning, communication and love, you know, that's the basis of any marriage. Love is the easy part, the communication and the understanding and pivoting. And, you know, we got married very young. We are two completely different people now sitting on this couch at 33 than we were at 21 years old. You know, and I think that's sometimes the hard part of marriage too, is that, you know, one person's growing and the other one is not. And then so now we have this like divide. And that's where I knew it was always important to me that like I was going to grow and that I needed my spouse to grow with me so that, you know, we can, you know, come together. You know, we had a moment actually in St. Pete, you know, Drew and I are very much now the couple that walk into a room together. You know, we go our separate ways, we're mingling, but we're magnets, always find our way back to each other now, you know, and to me, that's like the coolest part of our relationship.
For sure.
Yeah. And we get to see that. Like it's really amazing to watch you guys. And I think that, you know, obviously we got a couple years on you. You know, it's really refreshing and wonderful to see. And it's not what I love about this, and I get all credit, but what I love about it is that you guys didn't give up. When it got hard, you fought. And I think that that's something that's missing from some of the younger generation, that, you know, it's the bigger, better deal. Like, oh, okay, things aren't good here. There's always that. Like there's you know, there's the apps, there's just, it feels like
there's options.
Feels like there's a lot of options. And in reality, until you dig and you really invest in something, like, you know, I was always a Dr. Laura fan because I love, you know, she always said, choose wisely, treat kindly, you know, and I mean, obviously if you choose somebody who's toxic in your life, then get them out. Like, I mean, I'm not saying fight through something if somebody's like toxic in your life, because there are people like that. And sometimes you got to get yourself get yourself healthy to recognize a healthy person. But, you know, you guys were a good fit. You knew you were a good fit, and you knew there were some things you had to work through, and you just didn't give up. And I love the 1% better every day. I think that's beautiful. And what Greg introduced to me is very similar, but from our perspective, a little gnat, giving me the benefit of the doubt. You know, like when things would go wrong, he's like, he wouldn't assume that I was coming from a bad place. He would give me the benefit of the doubt that, like, you know, my intentions were, you know, and then allow us to work on it. And I think it's similar to what you're describing.
Yeah. Like support your partner always, you know, up front in front of people. And then what do they say? Like, you know, scold or whatever in private, or like, you know,
punish in private, praise in public.
Yeah. And I think, you know, if you love that person enough, they're going to be willing to hear you out and, you know, where you struggle and what you need from that marriage, and be willing to change or be willing to like show up better for you. And that's something that Drew and I have always had. We've always had love for each other. You know, at the end of the day, we've always had that love and respect for each other. And, you know, there were things that I didn't understand how he did, and he didn't understand me, but as long as we kept communicating, he would be like, all right, I can see that perspective, and, you know, me too. And I think that's important. You know, the person that you're with is not going to be perfect.
Love is a choice. I think at the end of the day, you have to.
Would that be anyway?
You have
100%.
Yes. I'm a firm believer. A couple things, like you do. Love is a choice. Like it is way too like. Life is crazy. Things happen, you know, and you have to continue to show up for that person and for yourself, right? Number two is you have to love yourself before you can love somebody else. And I think that's something Jordan really had to work on. Creating her own identity, you know, and just this platform and her as an athlete and a coach. And Jay for the last few years finally loves herself. And I think it took up until, honestly, until really we moved out here. I think, and that's another thing that I didn't realize, the impact of us driving around her hometown where Push is located and being triggered by memories from her childhood. I did not realize how that impacted her and impacted the way that she could view herself as her adult self and truly love this version of her that she's put so much work in. Because like when we roll around Largo and back in Florida, like she's just got all these triggers, you know? And would you agree? Like once you got out here and like had a completely different scenery and like.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody who's a couple who's getting ready to make a big move. And she was like, I'm nervous, but I'm excited. And I was like, honestly, it's the best thing that's ever happened for our marriage. It's like you just go somewhere new, and it forces you to create new routines together, and create a new scene together in your home. And
remember, that was one of my biggest fears about coming out here.
No,
that I didn't want to come.
You didn't want to come out here and it be the same.
Right.
You wanted it to be different.
That's part of growing together as a couple, right? Is that and it's kind of hinges on something you said, which is how is he going to fit into my life? That question is less relevant to the how are we going to grow together, and not, there's parts of my life that I don't necessarily need to hold on to, and there's parts of your life that you don't need to hold on to, and so how do we now mesh what's left and then build something better from that? And I think that's another. I feel like the old guy coming on is that's a problem with today's youth, but I do I do think that's. We watch enough relationship shows between The Bachelor and Love Is Blind and everything else, but you hear the people talk, and I that's probably not the right sample or the right sample size, but I do think that some of the disclosures in that setting are very instructive of what we see in the world, which is people are very beholden to their lifestyle and unwilling to evolve and mold that around somebody else to build something bigger, to get into that synergy that you can build when you have that relationship and that safe space and that bedrock of love, but also communication, trust, and just all the things that go with it. If you're just so worried about protecting your own world, I always give the prison cafeteria model where you're protecting your food because I don't want to share it. If you're in that mode, which is really a variation of fight or flight, you're just protecting what you have because you're afraid of doing something else, then you're never going to discover this. And what we have always talked about, what we have shared with our kids, is that in order to experience all that love has to offer, you have got to be willing to be hurt by it. Because only when you're this notion of being 50-50 in a relationship, bullshit. You got to be 100-100. You got to be all in. And that means that if you're all in, you could get hurt. Until you can get hurt, there is no real relationship. There's only a fragment of it or a vision of what could be. But you've got to be all in order to progress as a couple. Yeah, I think we all agree
that all
on
the time, like in relationships and friendships, even
absolutely.
The real friendships, it's not going to be a-okay all the time.
No.
You're going to get into a disagreement if you're being real with that person. Right. And that's the true part of vulnerability, is giving 100% of yourself and saying, I know you can hurt me, but I trust that you're going to have the best intentions not to.
Yeah.
And when they do, fighting for them and, trying to understand where they're coming from. And,
let's go to that conversation on the bridge. It's a real seminal example of that, is that in that moment, Jay, you were being 100% vulnerable. You were telling him how you felt. You were telling him the concerns that you had, the fears that you had. You were expressing that. And Drew at that point was being the yin to that yang and being accepting of that vulnerability. And I don't know whether you were processing the moment of this is how she feels in the moment, but this moment isn't forever. This is just this moment. I don't know if that's what you were thinking. Or
I just knew she, like I said, it was really easy early on. And she was great. She's intimate, loving, all those things early on. And then deep we got a relationship. So it was like, I know you have the ability to show me and give me these feelings and do this. So like, you're capable. She didn't think she was capable.
So you trusted her.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what that's that model that I talked about. You
trusted her more than she trusted herself in that particular case. Yeah. That's cool.
Probably still very accurate for you.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's part of what you were saying about, me coming into myself. Before we opened up Push, I was working for my family. And it's so funny when we talk to our, old clients, and they're like, man, you come a long way from the girl that used to sit behind the counter at your aunt's physical therapy clinic. And, I love my aunt to death. Her vision for me was to take over that company. And there was no other option. And so I was like, okay, well, that's my only option. So that's what I'm going to do. And I literally felt like I was under the thumb a lot of the times. So a lot of, when Drew and I started, to get together and we had all these ideas and dreams, there was a rift in the relationship I had with my aunt, because it was like, well, what do you mean you're going to, this was always the plan. And then finally, Drew and I had a private conversation. She's like, that's her plan for you. Is that what you want? And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know what I want. This is always just, he's like, put that all aside. What do you want? And I didn't know. I did not know who I was, what I wanted. And I think that moment for Drew, when he did break up with me, that was a turning point for him to also teach me and show me that, I was always living for others. I was always living for my parents and to take care of them. The first time I went to the University of South Florida, I stayed, that was my year 3. I stayed at the local college the first 2 years because there was no way I was going to leave my parents. Like, I needed to be there and take care of them, and so Drew really taught me, he jokes all the time. When he met me, I used to have my hair up in a pineapple bun with a bandana all the time. And, I had no style. Drew taught me style, and he took me shopping for the first time. Like,
Boy, do I
he
regret
taught
that
me, he taught me how to be a woman and
I could have retired by now.
But yeah, I mean,
Now she's got very good taste.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it was really about stepping into myself and knowing who I am. And, now because I know who I am, like, those conversations and decisions are a lot easier, because it's like I have an opinion, I know where I want to go. And if there's one thing about Drew and I, like, what we touch turns to gold, and that's where he's coming from. He's like, I've seen you run
when
a
we're
business.
together. No, with like, I'm a firm believer, if you and I are together on any business venture, we could decide to go, what is the polar opposite of fitness industry? I don't know.
Fat gaining a fat farm.
We could put on a hot dog. We could put the Nathan's.
dog?
We would put the Nathan's
Extreme
hot
eating?
dog eating contest out of business if her and I put our minds to it. Like, I'm very confident, and like, I'm just saying, like, because I know if I have my partner and like I have my ride or die, like, it doesn't matter the business venture or what we're gonna do, because I know how hard she works. I know how hard I work.
Yeah.
And like,
We know how hard you both work,
So-
Well,
I mean,
that's why we love you guys.
Right. You guys are the same.
The four of us together are unstoppable, and that's why we value your guys' relationship and friendship so much. It's like, we have each other, but then we also now have you guys, and we all just keep growing and elevating each other.
absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I know in our dynamic, we're very similar in that we all push each other as couples, and then as each other as couples and as individuals, and which is special and cool. And, I do see, though, in general, like, couples that are strong tend to thrive more, even if, like, say both aren't type A driven, like we all are, you know what I mean? Like, even like when people have what they need from that relation standpoint, like, that might be, I mean, we see that with people who say they have, I was just talking to my mom, one of my cousins, she has on her fourth kid now, and they'd want a big family. They want to have kids. She's the most amazing mom ever. And like, she grounds things so that then he can go. And so together they're creating that beautiful life that is right for them, because of the way that they work together as a couple. So I think it's very interesting because we have a similar dynamic, and different people's dynamic is going to be different. But one thing that is in common, and I think we've all seen this with all of our friends that are couples, and we're blessed, I feel like, to have a lot of people in our lives that are great couples. And that's what I'm excited to continue bringing them on here, is that they thrive. Like, when you see two people that support each other and love each other through thick and thin, and they have that solid sort of foundation, it allows them to fly like you could never do on your own.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
and two, and I go back to like the whole kids thing. Like, I have way too much fun with her to share with like some little like creature.
It's hard enough to share with George and
Well, and then I
Penelope.
like too with the whole competing thing too.
That's the dogs,
you know?
if you don't know.
Yeah, that's
Like-
like 2 Goldens.
When she's in prep and things like that, like the relationship shifts. Are we gonna talk about this episode? Or?
Yeah, let's. So we're over time actually, and let's talk about that in our second episode of this. And before we do that, I do want to go back to something you said, because this is really, I think, a really important point: the importance of loving yourself in order to be the best version of yourself for your partner. That is essential. I mean, Jamie and I will tell you both that when we met, we had gone through a lot of heartache with other relationships, and the thing that really formed the bond between us was that we were at a point where we recognized we deserved to be happy, and we deserved each other, and we loved ourselves. And it was only at that moment really where I was ready to get into a relationship. And of course I was ready after 3 hours to marry you.
Well, you were
an hour
late getting flowers,
but
I thought he was a serial killer. So
well, the jury's still
my
out
defense.
on that. Don't take that off the table, because you never know.
he would not tell me what he did for a while when we first
Is that where you
started
go
talking.
when you go grocery
Yeah.
shopping?
Well, hey,
It takes you a few
Dexter's one of
hours.
my favorite.
I had to dig around in the
Right,
backyard for a while before I was fully convinced that,
Clean.
All right, so we have learned a lot. there's no way, whether we did these episodes for a week, 2 weeks, we would cover everything. But we're going to come back. I do think we get into the competing part because you and I have both been stage husbands, and you've been a stage wife, so you've never been that for me. So.
Okay, so do you want to compete and then she can have her shot at that?
I did that. I did
Come
that.
on.
I did that long ago.
Okay.
I did that when there was mixed pairs posing, and I just saw that come back with somebody posted something the other day on that.
Yeah, it was like
that
a
was such a beautiful
history thing. Oh, it was beautiful. I wish they still had it.
I do too. Anyway, so we're done.
Before your time.
For a pause at least.
Back on Monday.
Are we gonna do a checkout word? So loving and loved were the two check-in words. Is that right? We never really said ours.
Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah, you didn't.
I wasn't.
It was rude. Crude, rude, and
So you
very
guys do the
offensive.
checkout word then.
Okay.
If we did the check-in
I
word.
like that.
I'm admiring and inspired. Inspired. We'll go with inspired.
And I'll just say grateful because I'm super grateful for you
Thank you, babe.
and for both
Give
of
me a
you.
kiss. Give me a kiss.
And I'm really glad you guys were our first love and marriage couple to have here.
There was no other way. When Jamie came up with this concept, there was really no doubt who was going to be first. So,
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Yes, we love
Love
you
you guys.
Yes, love you guys.
all right, we love you all, and remember, we'll love you even more if you like, comment, subscribe, and leave your reviews.
And I love comments too on what you
Yep.
guys, how you guys feel about this new format and what we're doing. Anything more that you'd like us to explore. I know that Drew and Jordan have gotten messages about their relationship already. So, I mean, I feel like a lot of us are looking for that inspiration and that connection with, couples, whether you be single or married already, just to keep developing that side of your life and figuring out like how to really flourish fully in relationships. So tell us what you want to hear.
And I'll go back to this. We said it already, but if you really want to be in the best relationship, you've got to love yourself. And until you love yourself enough to know what you deserve, then you're not going to find it. And then you've also got to be willing to be hurt by going all in. And I will tell you, it's almost like a competition when you go to nationals and people, I always ask this after people don't get their pro card. Well, what were you going to do if you got your pro card? Compete. What were you going to do if you didn't get your pro card? Compete. Love is a lot like that, where, okay, you got to go all in, go for that pro card. And if you don't get it, okay, you get hurt and you'll get better. You'll heal. You will absolutely heal
And learn.
and learn, and then evolve and get to the next one that will be the right one. But make sure you're holding out for what you deserve. If there's a lesson here, and I think that's it, right?
Yes.
So we got to remember the three B's. Are you gonna do one of the B's?
I think I remember the last one.
Okay.
Be good to yourself.
Be good to each other.
Be kind.
Be safe.
Dang it.
But we can add be kind.
kind is
I'll tell you
good
what,
too.
since there's four of us, let's redo that. Okay. So be good to yourself.
You did mine.
Oh, sorry.
Be good to each other.
Be kind.
Be safe.
There you go. All four. Now we've expanded the three B's and they've become the four
The
B's.
4 Bs.
I love it. All right. All right, everybody. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to FitBody Lifestyle. We hope today's episode has left you feeling motivated and equipped to tackle your fitness goals, business challenges, and the daily dance of life. Remember to value progress over perfection. Life's tough enough alone. Find the chosen family around you to help you along the way.
If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite streaming platform. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at FitBody Fusion.